It's like 8 o'clock in the morning right now. I haven't even had a shower yet. Like I am, well, probably more like 8:30 or closer to 9. See, normally my morning, okay, so here's my normal morning routine, right? So usually I'll wake up at around 4:30, maybe 5, but more recently it's been closer to like 5:30 or 6. But I've also been sleeping a lot better recently. Um, but usually I'll wake up at like recently I've been waking up around 5:30 or 6, and like I'll go into the bathroom, like do my whole morning routine. But I have an Amazon Echo, so I'll just tell it like, Alexa, good morning. You know, that's the kick for that's how I initiate the routine. And then Alexa will go through and it'll give me like the morning briefing, so basically like what's going on with the news, and then it'll give me my calendar reminders. It'll set the thermostat down to like 70 degrees, set it up to 70 degrees, because I turn the thermostat down to like 68 before I go to bed, and I have the fan on. I like to sleep cold. I like it cold when I sleep. And I have to have air moving on me. I don't really know why, but I always do. But anyway, so yeah, then it'll go through and it'll play my morning music playlist, and I'll go through my whole morning routine, and yeah, then I'm off to go for the day. But this morning I've been yeah, I've been thinking about, yeah, I've been doing some thinking this morning. Good stuff. Thinking about some good stuff. And thinking about it yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. But as promised, the Incredible Hulk story. Now, I want to see some likes. All right, I want to be seeing some likes in this video. I want to be seeing some comments. All right, I want to see some fan engagement on this video is what I want to see. Here's the other thing too, members of the Rob Corps, do not do this at home. All right, do not do this stuff. Do not do this stuff. Now, here's the whole idea here. So back when I was, God, how old was I? This is around 2004, probably when this happened. So it's 2018, so 14 years ago. Jesus, was it really that long ago? So 14 years ago, God, I was 20 at the time. We used to play Laser Quest, all right? Live action laser tag at its best. Dude, some of the best memories I have came out of Laser Quest. Dude, I met so many cool guys like Ryan and Russ and Lucian and Ray and like all these really, really, really cool guys. And I still talk to them, you know, like I'm going to Vegas in January to hang out with them. But anyway, so we used to play Laser Quest all the time. Now here's the thing, Lexington Laser Quest was like the shittiest team in the country for years. And then like we started going to side tournaments. We traveled everywhere. We went all over the country. You know, we went to like Wichita, Kansas, and we went to Downers Grove, Illinois. We went to Rockford, Illinois. We went to Madison Heights, Michigan. We went to, where else did we go in Michigan? I don't know if we went to Grand Rapids or Westland. But we went to like North Carolina, to Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, we went everywhere. I remember going to Phoenix one year. Like we went everywhere, and we played our asses off. But what this did is it took a whole bunch of guys who never met, who didn't really seem to have anything in common, and it gave us camaraderie. Like going on road trips, you know, driving for like 12 hours, talking to your friends. Oh, dude, that builds up camaraderie, you know. And now in reality, like a lot of us have gone our own different ways. And you know, with myself and Chris, what was me making an asinine remark to who's now his wife, you know, that really kind of created a rift that we don't really talk. I mean, we're on good terms, but I mean, honestly, he's never really reached out. So, you know, I assume that we're not really talking too much anymore, but, which is fine. I mean, that was a stupid decision. That was a stupid thing that I did, but nonetheless, yeah, at the time, 2004, oh, we were great. Like we were all amazing friends. Like myself and Chris and Ricky and Jeremy and little Josh, kid had a mouth like a firecracker. Dude, he would just run off with the mouth. There was one time we were sitting in the Laser Quest Center. Little Josh was like 12. All right. There's one time we were sitting in the Laser Quest Center, and like this couple comes out after having played, and like the girl was like, she was pretty good looking. Like the woman was pretty hot, and like the way it came down is you had this ramp that you went through the main entrance here. So you had like the main entrance right here, and then you would have this ramp that would go like that, and then it would take you into the center, and little Josh is like what is it like they're walking down, and little Josh is standing at the top of the ramp, and he's like he nudges at me, he's like, man, look at that. And I was like, what? He's like, I'd hit that from the back. And I was like, Josh, they're right there, man. They can hear you. Like they can hear exactly what you're saying. Like you are not being slick. And so anyway, so the guy that kind of brought us all together was John. And John's parties were legendary. I'd never been to one. Like I had never been to one. All right, now you guys know what I'm talking about when I say legendary parties, like the stuff of legend, like the things where it's just like, dude, like I've like the parties were insane. Now John's sister at the time, Chelsea, was pretty good looking. I don't know whatever happened to her. She's I haven't talked to her in years and years and years and years. But yeah, like last I heard, she was married and had a kid, but I don't know if that was ever really true or not, which in reality is about the furthest thing I would have expected from her, given how wild she was when she was younger. But the fact remains, so we're all hanging out at the center, because we used to play, initially we started playing every day, and then we started scaling it back to every Friday and Saturday night. And so it's like a Friday or Saturday, I don't remember which day. I want to say it was a Saturday. And John's like, no, I think it was a Friday, because we had all day Saturday to hang out. And so John's like, hey guys, I'm having a party at my house tonight. So like you guys should all come out. And so we're like, okay, cool. Now there's about 10 of us there. Like 10 of us, you know, with like John, and then about 10 of us there. And then like all of his friends from Bryan Station, which is about another 100 people. So this house was packed. It was, oh my God, it was so packed. So we go rolling over there, right? Because I'm like, okay, like you know, like Rob's looking to get some action tonight. So like, you know, we gotta smell good, we gotta look good, you know, that kind of stuff. So like at the time I didn't realize what was going on. Once I got there and realized it was a whole bunch of high school kids, I was like, okay, so this ain't happening. Like I ain't playing that game. So I was like, whatever, man. Like we'll all just hang out and we'll all just chill. And so like everybody there is probably, well, it's a combination of high school and college kids. Everybody there is probably like 17, 18 years old. And there was underage drinking. Definitely there was underage drinking. I mean, it's a rite of passage, guys. I mean, everybody drinks underage at this point, you know, at this point. I mean, you shouldn't, but it's a thing that people do. And so myself and Chris and Ricky, we show up first, I think. And then after that is Jeremy, Little Josh, and like Brad, and then Daniel, Little Daniel. Okay, Little Daniel. He went by the name Kablam. He was brand new to the world. Kid was Christian. Oh God, pure as the driven snow. He was this kid. There was one time we were coming back from a Laser Quest tournament in Akron, Ohio. It was like the Akron 5-man. And he like like we're driving back and we stop in Dayton. We stop in Centerville, Ohio. And we're like, hey man, like let's go to Centerville and play. Because Centerville had like Centerville was arguably considered to be like the best maze, like the best laser tag maze in like the whole country. And I mean, we kind of thought ours was a little bit better, but for like towers and stuff like that, they were definitely better. If you guys know what that means, cool. If you don't worry about it. And so he's like, no man, like I gotta get back to church. Like I gotta get back home so I can do like a church thing. We're like, come on man, let's play. We corrupted the hell out of that kid. There was one time we went to Michigan. The first tournament we went to Michigan. Myself, John, Brad, and Little Daniel. Like myself, John, and Brad are like hotboxing, and Little Daniel is like sitting in the corner, trying not to get a contact buzz. Oh, bless his heart. He was, God, man, whatever happened to him. He was probably like everybody else in Kentucky, settled down and had kids. But yeah, no. So we all get to this party, and like right off the bat, like things aren't really popping off, but it's like we're at a party, right? Because like we all go up to John's room because we're waiting for like everybody else to get there. Because anybody will tell you, you get to a party early enough, around like 9 or 10, no one really shows up until like 11:30. You know, sometimes even 12. And then you have like the folks who show up late because they've been party hopping all night long, and they come to your party last at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they show up sober and they got to play catch up. But nonetheless, like we're just sitting there chilling. So we're all just sitting in John's room, like we're all just getting high as hell. Like we're all just like smoking up because Jeremy always had like the best weed. And so he's like, guys, like I gotta go for this party, right? Like bam, busts out like this fat sack of weed. We're just like, oh shit. So like we're passing around bowls. And then like people start showing up. So we're like, okay, cool. So after that, it becomes more of a blur and just turns into like a series of small moments that I remember that will always stand out. Like I remember, what was it? Oh, I remember there was one point. God, there was one point I remember sitting up in John's room because we had all been. Oh no, it was when Jeremy showed up with the Incredible Hulk. That's what it was. So Jeremy, like he had all the weed, and then like he was like, well, like he broke out Hennessy and Hypnotic, and he's like, I was like, dude, what's that for? And he's like, well, you'll find out once the party gets going. So like once the party gets going, like there's a point where the room's full of like 20 or 30 people, and so Jeremy's like, all right, everybody. He's like, all right, everybody, because everybody's like talking and hanging out. He's like, all right, everybody, because other people are downstairs, they're doing their thing, and like the whole area's packing. The whole area's packed. And so he's like, all right, guys. He's like, I brought Hennessy and Hypnotic. He's like, how many of you guys ever heard of Incredible Hulk? And I was like, I never heard of it. And they're like, well, we've heard of the character. And I was like, yeah, who hasn't heard of the character, man? A giant green rage monster just smashing everything. Who the hell hasn't heard of the Incredible Hulk? You know, he's like, no. He's like, this. They call this Incredible Hulk because this is strong. 1 part Hennessy, 2 parts Hypnotic. All right. he starts pouring out these shots, and it's like this vibrant green color, and it looks, oh my God, it looks amazing, and it tastes even better. That's what makes it so dangerous, is like you'll start smashing them back without realizing how many you've had because it tastes so good. Because Hypnotic is a liqueur, it's a sweet liquor, and then you have Hennessy, which is like a cognac. So like you're talking about two relatively, like, well, one really, really strong alcohol, and then another one that's relatively strong. And so you compile those together, and the proof level just goes up the roof. You know, goes totally out the roof. So So like we're like smashing these shots back, right? And I remember distinctly, because it was the first time I ever got drunk, I remember distinctively that there was a point where I was drinking where suddenly I got this warm, fuzzy feeling. And then it was just like, oh, and then I remember just sitting back and just relaxing. Between that and the weed, man, I was I was nice and hammered. So I remember there was another point where we were all hanging out. It was myself and it was this girl, Kiana. God, I haven't seen Kiana in years and years and years. It was myself, this girl, Kiana, and like a whole bunch of us all sitting around, and like we're all talking, and like I'm sitting here like drunk and high and like macking on Kiana. And I know I had no business doing that, but it was never going to go anywhere anyway. But yeah, no, like it was little things like that. I mean, it was a conversations and stuff that were fun. But then shit popped off, right? Like, and every party, everywhere, there's always a point when things just like pop off. Like when like something happens and just like the top comes off that place, right? So this all was initiated when John was hunting for his sister. And it was the craziest thing because Chelsea had a record about her back in the day. And so we're all sitting downstairs in the living room. Little Josh is playing the piano. Kid's playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Everybody's so drunk. They think he's like some kind of savant. They're like, dude, you're amazing. You know, like they're all talking about how amazing he is. And I was like, man, if this kid wasn't 12 years old, man, these girls would be all over him. So like he's sitting there playing the piano, playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on this little shitty piano. And then like Ricky or somebody comes down and they're like, John, where's Chelsea? And they're like we're like, oh shit, there's a lot of dudes at this party, man. And like John, like it took a minute for it to ring, like for it to pick up on John, right? Because like I remember this clear as day. I remember looking at John. He's like, whatever. And then the wheels started turning, and John's like, and then he starts to realize what's probably going on. All right, now this is like a high school fight, right? It's like. You guys remember those days back in the day when it was like a high school fight? One person is searching for somebody else, like walking the halls looking for someone, and everyone's following him because like everybody wants to see him fight. And so like there's like it was just like that, right? Like John's like hunting around the house for his sister, and like we're all following him. I mean, there's probably like 20 people just kind of like shuffling back and forth, following him, trying to see where John's going. People are going in the backyard like, hey, John's looking for Chelsea, come on! And people just like filing in, trying to see what happens. So John makes his way upstairs, right? Like I'm like one or two people behind John, so like I'm right there watching everything happen. John's moving around, and then suddenly John's just like he puts his hand up, and like and then you hear it. And then you hear it. We're at the top of the stairs, and then you hear it. And we're just like, oh, Jesus, man. Like, dude, and like the way it was going down, dude, somebody was wearing her out. And it was like, and I was having inclined to be like, John, don't go in there, man. Like, they're having a good time, man. Just let them have their good time. But like, John wasn't having any of it, right? So like once everybody realizes what's going on, people are just like, oh, sound like John's gonna freak, and he did. John, like, so the way it was set up, you got to the top of the stairs, right? You got to the top of the stairs, like right here. You had John's room right here. You had Christy's room right there. Then you had a back hallway that went to Chelsea's room. So she was kind of like isolated. And so like John, like his like hands are shaking. John goes back to the back room, like right to where Chelsea's room is. Starts banging on the door. He's like, Chelsea. Let me tell you something. The way they were going at it, they weren't hearing shit. Like they weren't hearing anything, man. Like a lot. Okay, those of you guys who have never been with a woman before, let me tell you something. Like once you get into that groove, like there's a point where like you're just kind of knocking boots, then you get into the groove. And like once you get into that moment, like you don't hear anything, man. Like there could be a nuclear explosion that goes off outside your house and you'd have no clue. Like it's well, I mean, it wouldn't matter anyway because you'd be gone like that. But still, you guys understand what I'm saying. So like they're hammered out. John's banging on the door. Chelsea. John's banging on the door. They're not answering, and John's like, back up. So we're just like, oh shit, son. John takes 2 steps back, wham, kicks the door in. Door goes flying wide open. There's Chelsea getting hammered on by some football player. John grabs this guy, yanks him off. Chelsea screaming, it's not my first time. John grabs this guy, yanks him off Chelsea's like, John, stop. This guy looks down at John. He's like, man, I'm going to kick your ass. And John's like, do it. And John would have beat him. Well, he would have beat his ass too, because you had like Dunn and you had like a handful of guys there, and they were hardcore. Like, dude, those guys were, they were legit. Like Dunn, Don, and all of it, they would have worn that guy out. And so, like, John challenges the guy backs off and ends up leaving. Like, John slams the door shut. The door's not even shut. Like, door's not even shut all the way. Like, the latch is literally busted. Things like hanging off by a hinge. And like, dude, they're just like screaming at each other. So we're like, okay, so we kind of need to leave right now. Like, so we end up going back downstairs. But it was, oh my God, it was one of the funniest moments. And then there was one point, I remember going outside in the backyard because they had a tree house and a tree, and then they had a trampoline. Now here's the thing. Back in the day, like, Ricky's married now. Like, he's married, he's got kids, he's got a family, he's all settled down and everything. Back in the day, oh dude, like, I had some game back in my day too. Like, I mean, I could spit some mad game back in my day. I've kind of lost my edge. Lost a little of my fire over the years, but like back in the day, like I could spit some mad game, and yeah, like, but as good as I was at that, I didn't have anything on Ricky. This guy was a ladies' man. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't a confidence thing, because like we all had confidence. It wasn't a confidence thing. It was just, there was something about Ricky, man. Women loved him. And so I remember going out there. There's Ricky laying on the trampoline with like 5 girls sitting around him. And it's just like, he's like, what's going on, man? And I'm sitting here thinking, why the hell aren't you in a bedroom somewhere? Like take one of them, take all of them. Like why are you laying down here on a trampoline with like all these girls like fawning over you and shit? You're like, oh, Ricky, Ricky. I was like, man, like I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, you need to go upstairs. But Ricky was pretty drunk as it was, so maybe he had a little bit of liquid courage that helped him to get those 5 girls. But nonetheless, it was little things like that. Now I remember distinctly there was somebody who came running into the house, and he's like, cops. So we all go taking off. We all go running out the back door, and I remember jumping the fence. Like this fence was maybe like, I don't know, 7 feet high. It was like a 7 foot fence. And I remember jumping the fence, and there were like 1 or 2 people who did it beside, like did it in addition to me. Like we jumped the fence, and then we were just like, okay. And then like somebody else came out, and they're like, there's no cops. Like somebody was just being an asshole. So by the time I get back into the house, there's these 2 girls just like fighting, like beating the hell out, like these 2 black girls beating the hell out of each other, like pulling each other's weave out and shit. Cheetos everywhere. Like it was bonkers to see, man. These little Cheeto things all over the place. It was insane. Somebody brought Mike's Hard Lemonade. Everybody started drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade. We were young, all right? So people were like enhancing their drink, their drunkenness with Mike's Hard Lemonade. Chris comes running up on me at some point. He was like, hey man, have you seen my Jim Beam? And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you had it somewhere where he's like, man, it tastes like cotton candy. I was like, Chris, I think you might have had a little too much to drink. He's like, no, I'm good, man. He ended up finding it sitting between 2 cushions on John's couch. I mean, it was, oh my God, it was stuff like that. It was these small little things. So anyway, so the night basically begins to wrap up, right? Like everybody just kind of starts leaving, starts taking off. It's probably around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. Everybody kind of, the night starts to wind down. People start pairing off. They end up, going home with various people. I was like, I ain't taking none of these girls home, man. These girls are all underage. So I was like, I'm not playing that game. So it ends up, so I remember Ricky was the one who drove us there. And so Ricky had his minivan. Ricky had the most dank ass minivan back in the day. That thing was a fucking refuse pile. Like it was like one of those old Dodge Caravans, like a 1990 something Dodge Caravan. And he would just like, he'd eat food, like it'd be partially eaten. He would just throw it in there. Thing stunk to high heaven. I remember they went through and cleaned it out one day. I remember I came over when they did that. Dude, the whole front yard was just filled with shit. And I was like, Jesus, guys. Yeah, I was like, man, y'all need to do something about this, man. So nonetheless, so I remember going out there, and I was like, Ricky, we're getting ready to leave. He's like, all right, hold on, I'll drive you guys. Now I was not, like, by that point, I was sobering up, but I was not sober. Like, I wasn't that sober of a person. And so I remember Ricky being too drunk to be able to drive. I was like, no, because here's the thing. Like, when it comes to my friends, I'm very, very protective of my friends, right? I'm just like, hey, look, guys, don't do anything to put yourself in danger or put other people in danger. That's not okay. So I remember I tricked Ricky. I was like, all right, man. I was like, well, let me get your keys real quick, and then we'll warm the car up. And he's like, all right. So he's like, the keys are right over there. And I was like, okay, cool. Later, man. And then like I shut the door and locked him out. I was like, you ain't going anywhere, man. You need to stay here. Like, you need to bang some of these girls. You need to call it a day. So we ended up like, I don't remember how we got home. Somehow we got home. or got back to Chris's house. All right, now Chris's mom was like a second mom, right? Like Miss Linda was like a second mom for me. And so I remember we got in there, and Chris is like he just staggers into the house and then ends up going upstairs, right? So like I'm sitting downstairs on Ricky's computer talking on AOL Instant Messenger, because this is back when AOL Instant Messenger was a thing. For those of you guys who don't, I feel bad for you guys who never grew up in the era of AOL Instant Messenger, man. You hear that, bring, like yeah, that AOL, like we went in like 4 conversations at the same time. Chris would do that shit, dude. He was macking on all the girls in high school. He was like talking to like 4 different girls at the same time, and so yeah, like. We were all like Chris is upstairs, I'm downstairs, and then like I hear this like thump 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 thump, and then I hear this like this little bitty woman with a voice of thunder. She's like, Ricky, and I looked up and I was like, this is Rob. Ricky's not here. She's like, y'all been drinking, haven't you? And I was like, yes, ma'am. And she's like, Chris is upstairs puking his guts out. Chris got grounded for a month. Like he was busted. Ricky ended up having to walk all the way from John's house back to his car. He woke up there and he ended up having to walk the whole route, and it was it sucked. Like it sucked having to walk that whole way back. But yeah, I mean, God, those were good times. Like those were good times. I will say this, I miss hanging out with like Chris and Ricky and all those guys. Like I told Ricky because I told him I'd be in town on Thanksgiving, like we need to get lunch or something like that, sit down and grab some food. But I haven't seen Ricky in so long. Like Jesus, it's been forever. But yeah, he was a good guy. Ricky was a really, really cool guy. Chris was a good guy. Randy, she was an awesome woman. I mean, they were good people. Like they were good folks. But yeah, anyway, guys, so that's the story, the Incredible Hulk story. We mentioned Incredible Hulk like once, but I will say this, man, you get some Incredible Hulk. Get like 2 or 3 shots of that, man. It'll get you gassed up. Get like 2 or 3 glasses, you'll be hammered off your ass. But anyway, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end, and yeah, I will catch you all later. Peace.